All right. Let's see how we're doing here. Looks like you guys can see me. Looks like everything's going good there. Let's go check on Ranger. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's laying on one of his beds, so that's good. I am gonna check on my lab environment a little bit here. Haven't messed with this much since last night, but we got some stuff to do in there. And then what else were we gonna do? We have. Let me put up my. Let me get my talk going here in the background, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Pull up our Ranger stuff. Maybe pull up some of that stuff. All right, that's good. Okay. So as people show up, we will work on, just talking systems engineering, hanging out. We've got, I don't know, an hour, and then I've got some guests coming over, so we're gonna hang out. And I think we're watching an old movie tonight, a movie that's 30 years old, but it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. So we're gonna introduce it. Actually, a couple of our young friends have never seen it, so me and the wife were like, "Well, you guys need to come see it." So they were over a couple weekends ago, and then they were coming back tonight to watch this movie. It should be pretty good. So, Quartz One, how's it going? Someone mentioned you should put Proxmox on a mini PC. Yeah, I think Proxmox is pretty good. Robodom, no, that is a good one though, but that is not the movie I'm thinking of. The movie has Michael Myers as the lead. And set up a Linux server, but you've never done it before. Yeah, Quartz One. I haven't used Proxmox much. I think I might have stood it up one time in a lab messing around. But I think they have pretty good setup and starting type thing. What I would tell you, whatever, accept all. They got a backup server, a virtual environment, mail gateway. It looks like you probably want the Proxmox virtual environment, right? And then you're going to get some kind of access to control it. It is So I Married an Axe Murderer. Yep, that's exactly what we're watching. I'm going to make Michael Pessa watch it. He hasn't seen it before. Him and his wife. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. XCP NG. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, So I Married an Axe Murderer is the name of the movie. And it's got Michael Myers, and it's pretty great. So hopefully Pessa's not watching this, because I don't want him to get any spoilers for it. What you will get with any of these tools is then you're going to get some kind of environment. Proxmox may even have, I've seen some people do some Proxmox work. They might even have like a web GUI that you go into. I'm not 100% sure. But once you get in there, you're going to need an ISO for your Linux. You're probably going to need an ISO for Proxmox too. Something like this that you can put like Proxmox on. And then you're going to drop it into that machine. You're going to boot it, you're going to install it, and then you're going to get a connection. And then you'll have a server like this. Just some server sitting there ready to do whatever things you want with it. And then you'll add it. So yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult to stand up a Proxmox server if that's kind of what you're thinking of doing. Chillin' Spree over on YouTube, how's it going? We're just hanging out. Like, Fridays are our chill days. We don't work super hard. So let me see what's going on over here. Oh, I opened something I didn't mean to over here. Yeah. Don't be opening that up. That's a big old mess over there. All right. So let me get this out of the way. I got stuff in the way everywhere. Yeah, I think Proxmox will probably work just fine for you. Let's move this out of the way. And then what I wanted to do today, I don't really have too much that I want to work too hard on, but I thought about maybe setting up a little more in the system space, kind of in my home lab here, like what you can do. We were looking at Werewolf yesterday. We don't necessarily need Werewolf up right now, though. We can check on how the home lab's doing and some of that stuff. I do need to work on my PCA cert. I haven't had any time to study. I meant to take that before the end of last month, and then I've just been super busy. So that's the Prometheus Certified Associate. I need to work on that. Quartz City, download the ISO for Proxmox. Is there any idea of what I can do with the server? Maybe set up a camera or something, or portable storage for games. Yeah, Quartz. I mean, here's like the easiest things to set up in a home lab. Get your home lab up, right? Get the Proxmox server up, and then the things that you probably want to do are set up like a little backup storage, get like a little backup so that you can throw stuff to it. That's going to be typically you're going to stand up a Linux box, kind of like my little. Let's see. Let's jump on this one. My little hostbox server, right? Hostbox is one of the only things that I care about in my environment. But if we look at him, he's got these. He's got data, ROMs, Ranger, and ISOs, and those, if I do a show mount -E, are shared out to everything in the network for NFS. But if we do test parm is one of my favorite things because it sounds like test parmesan, right? And you can dump out and you can see that data, ROMs, ISOs, and camera are shared out via Samba, right? So this is a simple little project. Like Quartz, you're probably like, what do I want to do? I don't want to just stand up a bunch of Linux servers in my environment and not do anything with them. One of the easiest things you can do is get that server up, get it running. If you need help with it, let me know. We'll jump down into like one of the Discord channels or something. Get your server up. Get your disks the way that you want. You know, make sure you have enough storage. Like in my data, I've got almost 700 gigs of storage, but we're using 600 gigs of it, so I might have to up that one of these days. But that's my data. That's my data site, right? Then you're going to share it out with a tool like Samba, and then you're going to be able to go into like any of your Windows machines or Linux machines in your environment, and I can just go right here to data, and I can see all of my data right here. This is all my data that is being shared out of my Linux. So this is a backup server for me. This backs up. I've got actual backup. I've got a whole bunch of Jiu-Jitsu videos, some old P90X stuff, just all kinds of stuff in here from, you know, whatever I want to back up. But that's like a very simple little project to kind of get running, and then you just have it. You know, you just have that as a backup in your cloud. You should have probably, you know, that's pretty easy to do. Then you can use Windows to move data up there every night or whatever, so that you just have a backup. Even if it's in the same room, it's still on 2 different disks, right? That's kind of nice. You could stand up your Proxmox, your little Proxmox tool, and then you can set up a storage connector up to the cloud if you want. And you can send data up to the cloud that same way. You would push data into it, and then it would push data up to the cloud. And then you would find out that like, oh, hey, this 1 terabyte that I really care about of my stuff, I have it backed up on this server here, and I have it up to the cloud. Oh, and it only costs me about $3 a month or whatever in some AWS archive. $3 a month to not like lose pictures that are 20 years old is probably a pretty fair deal, you know. And you would be controlling it yourself, so you could go pull it down anytime you want it. That's the kind of thing that like I think you should do as projects. Another one that's like super simple is just go set up a little web server in your own home network, right? You know how to get a server stood up. You'll have stood up a couple of servers by then. Just set up an Apache server or an Nginx server and get it running. You want to make it a little more complex, stand up a little Kubernetes cluster, a little K3s, super easy. It looks like I said Genx there, but it's Nginx, Nginx. Yeah, that's Nginx. And you can do that through Kubernetes if you want to. So you have all these ideas, like, and I would just tell you, like, just focus on the little things. If you've never set up a server like that for your home lab, just set it up, and then next thing you know, you've got some monstrosity like me of all like these things that I don't even really use much anymore, but they're just kind of hanging out on the system, and you know, I can use them if I want to. But anyways, that's my thoughts on it. All right. So we were in the home lab yesterday. I was showing you guys around this werewolf tool a little more, but we were actually getting to a point where it was starting to get actually pretty usable. Let's go jump over to here. So I'm in 2 different, here and here, right? I'm in these 2 different windows here, and this one over here was us looking at all of the different stuff going on inside of the cluster, and then over here we were actually in each individual node. And we kind of got to think about how, like, what do we want to do with these nodes? Like I'm gonna be setting up the projects for everybody. We're going to be doing a 16-week project where anybody that kind of wants to learn system administration, maybe you're already doing a little bit of Linux and you want to learn some of the other stuff, we're going to have some access for that. I was talking to Salty Catfish earlier. He's one of the guys in our ProLug server that also streams, and he was building a little bot down on our server. I don't know if any of you guys saw it earlier, but he had a bot down there in the Discord, and he was just making it do some different stuff and work through some stuff, and we're gonna have that feed you guys. So what I didn't know that these bots were capable of, because I thought for security reasons it wouldn't let somebody whisper you, but it can, and that's really super useful because when you guys come into one of our channels and then say like lab access, it's gonna whisper you your access key from this tool right here. So Teammate is something that I've been using to give, like, to get access. People will call me up and say, hey Scott, we have some problem with our cluster, can you help us get this working or that working, right? And then they will just launch me over a little Teammate session just like this. It looks just like this. Where's he at? It looks just like this. They just send you an SSH with a little key like that, and you just connect to it, and then it just goes. No, Robdom, in Discord, like in a personal message. So what you would do in the channel is you would say, like, I don't know, Lab 1 access or something, and it would just give you, it would just whisper you over your key, and then you would be able to just jump in as that user. And I kind of think that that's the way I want to do the access, because then I can really say any user can get in and use this. Anybody in our Discord can do it. And two, I already have all the infrastructure past that set up. The main thing for me the last few years of running all this is it's hard for me to keep track of users, right? Like I gotta, like, you know, because I don't really want to track everybody's emails. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, you got to enroll and then I got to send you emails and stuff. I don't really want to do that. So with this, it's much more like separated. You can send me stuff. I would still know stuff about your access and everything, but I wouldn't have to like collect email. I don't care about none of that stuff. I don't want to send people stuff. I don't want to, you know, bug people. None of that stuff. Practicing your web devs, but want to participate in the Linux. Okay, yeah, Robodon. I think it's manageable. I think like you can do the fun stuff and still do, you know, you can do that stuff and still take your vitamins every morning. You know, you can still practice things that are useful to you, but then still take, you know, these basic core competency type things as well. I think that's perfectly legitimate. All right. So for today, I don't have like a huge plan because it's the end of the week and we just kind of mess around. But let's at least go check a little bit in our system. Let's go look at our containers. What containers do we have? What do we want to set in our environment? So I'm using this Rocky 9 lab, right? And then let's go look. Can we list our overlays as well? I think we can. I think we can just do an overlay list. Yeah. And there we go. We can see our overlay list. And then we can copy overlays as well. So if I cd to var, I think it's lib werewolf. And in here, whoops, in here we see all of these different things. So I can go into my ch roots and I can see each of the different ch roots here. I can see, well, actually let's start one that might be kind of fun. Let's get my notebook out. I wasn't planning on necessarily doing this today, but this might be kind of fun. I'm gonna get my notepad out over here. And let's go see if we can't do some basic stuff on here. Let's just go to Rocky 1 and let's do cat proc cmd, whoops, cat proc release cat etc release. Let's see, so we're on 9.4. We know we're on 9.4 of Rocky Linux. Let's grab all this. Boom. And you know what? I'm just going to keep that over here in my notes as well. So I'm going to say stig or start of stigs for my werewolf environment. And I might just do something like this. And look, guys, these are raw notes. You can do whatever you want in your raw notes, right? You can, you know, whatever keeps things organized for you. It's your notes. This is how I treat my notes. My notes are very just like, again, raw. It's like you're roughing out a shape before you carve it up or something like that. It's like very, wait, somebody's got an interview. You've been doing help desk role. Oh, you're going to be interviewing for help desk role, Quartz. Okay. Were you around the other day when my wife was here talking? My wife came on and we weren't on camera, but she was talking to everybody, and she's been a help desk person for 22 years, almost 21 years or so. She's been doing help desk for a school district out here in the Phoenix area, and she's been just with them forever. She doesn't want to move up. She just wants to kind of stay there. She's only got about 5.5 years of work left before she gets to retire from there. So she's just like, I'll hang out and do that. Help desk is a great way to learn a network. Some of our really prolific, some of our really good engineers that I know come from help desk type positions, and they're not always called help desk. Sometimes they're called, service desk or whatever. There's different titles and stuff. But like when we got M-Pesa, Michael Pesa, when we brought him up to our Linux team, he was doing our service desk stuff, and then he came over and started working on Linux team maybe 2019 or so, and then now he's like a senior site reliability engineer. But he works really hard to do stuff and get better at that stuff and, learn how to do this. So, okay. So, there are different ways that I can do this. I can actually just copy these and make new directories, or I can use the functionality within my system here. Let's look at some other things about this that may be important or useful to me. If I do a df-h, there's two things here that are mounted. Opt and home are mounted off of .25. .25 is the werewolf system, right? There's the .25. So opt and home on all of my systems come from the central system. So that's kind of important for me to know if I didn't know that maybe. I'll just throw that in there. And then let's go grab, and I might have it in my home system. I don't know if I have it in my home system. Let's go look. We'll just go in and jump into my downloads. I keep a lot of working stuff in my downloads. I have a tool right here that I downloaded off the internet. You can go download it. Called, this is SCC 5.9 Ubuntu. Here's the RHEL, nope, that's the wrong one. SCC RHEL 9 Oracle Linux, yeah, right here. So I've got this tool here, and I want to push this up into the cloud. So some of you guys, maybe this is a skill that you need to learn if you haven't done it before. But let's talk about how, if I had downloaded this to some machine, how I might, do I have the original version of this? Normally I don't completely unzip things. I keep a version of them, but I do not see. I don't see it. All right. So, let's just grab this guy and we'll zip him back up. Because, normally, again, I keep a zipped copy, but we'll just compress it and turn it into a zipped folder. All right. So we're going to have this new zipped folder in my environment here. I know it's bright. All right. Boom. This has to get up into my environment in whichever way I do it. Now, some of you are going to be on Windows machines because that's what the company gives you. Some of you are going to be Linux machines. Some of you guys are going to be on Mac. Mac has built-in terminal, so that makes it a little easier. In Windows, you get a good amount of things nowadays right at your command line. So I know all my stuff is in my downloads folder. So I'm just going to go to my downloads folder. And then you actually have SCP built in and OpenSSH built in now. But I've kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm I don't want to say old school. I don't like using that term like that. But I've been doing it a long time. So I use pscp.exe. And you can download that from the same place you download PuTTY. It's like that Chiriac, Greenwood, whatever the hell the name of that site is. But I'm going to copy this scc-59 bundle.zip up to schampine as a user at my IP address in my home lab, 168.11.245. And I'm going to put this into, well, I'll just put it in home as Champagne for now. Shoot, it might even already be up there now that I think about it. Let's go check that just for fun. Let's go check. Is it because I think, whoops. Yeah, it is actually there. That's funny. But I'm going to push it up there again anyways just for fun, just so you guys can see. SCP is a super simple tool. Chiriac, Chark, whatever it is. All right, we'll hit that, and it'll ask me for my username and password. I already got my username in there. And we'll push this up, and then if we were to look, we would immediately have that new file right there as my .zip. Now, I happen to already have the file here, so I don't need to run it. I don't need it again. But now we need to get this over to this other system. So we'll get this stuff out of the way. This stuff's fun, but it can be moved for now. We need to get it up here. So what's his IP address? His IP address is 192.168.200.51, which my machine may have a key to push into, and it may not. So let's go see. So let's SCP, and we're already down that directory. So scc-59 .rel RPM. So we'll take that RPM, and we'll go try to push it to 192.168.200.51. Now, if you've got DNS names all over the place, you can throw whatever DNS name you want in there. In my home lab, I tend to just do stuff quick like this, so I'm fine with it. And we'll just throw that into root, if we can, on that box. Now, it says I need to know root's password. I don't know if I do know root's password on that box. So let's see. Let's try. We might have it. We might not. So if I don't have it, then I've got to push it somewhere else first. So let's do this. Let's say from the root user, we'll use Scott. I use the user Scott in my environment at 192.168. And then I don't remember the IP address of this other machine. So then I say IP adder over here, and you can do a -br, -br or just br, and that'll give you a real short one. So he's .25, right? So jump back over here, .200.25, and I could push this over now. Oh no, whatever. We'll put it in temp for now. It's fine. So that'll work because I got that key, right? Jump back over here to this machine, and if I cd to temp, now I see it. Right, there it is. So I'm going to copy that SCP, the SCC, over to my Rocky 1 root. Just throw it in there, that's fine. Now, you got to remember, this box is a ephemeral box. If I take him down and bring him back up, that's not going to be there. Whoops. That's not going to be there anymore. If I want to install this on all the images, I've got to go back down through the image process, go in there and do all that. I don't care about any of that. I'm doing a one-off little, just messing around doing a one-off thing. So let's do this. Let's say RPM-QA. Yeah, we'll do IVH. We'll install it. SCC, whatever. And we're going to install this system. What is it going to do? It's going to put this SCC tool on my machine, and then I can use this to scan and see how STIG compliant, that's our Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines, how compliant the system is. So I've got an error. I can't write to opt SCC. Probably I have some kind of permissions issue. So let's go look and see if there's probably some kind of permissions issue on the way that's mounted. So let's df-h on opt, and I see that it's mounted off of there. I do a mount grep-i for opt, and I see, okay, here's some stuff. It's read-write, so I should be able to read-write into it, but maybe there's some kind of permission. So now we come over to the box. This is the box that's serving that. We do a -e. We see that it's shared out to only things in that directory, or in that network. So 192.168.200 is the only thing that can mount this. That's how that is read. That's a /24 address if anybody cares. In our Etsy exports, we see that opt is there's no root squash, and oh, look at this, it's exported as read only. That is probably a good thing in most clusters. We probably want that to be the case, and in this case, I'm going to say I'm okay with leaving that way then. But because of this, now check this out. This is where this is fun. Since that opt is mount only or read only, what I can do over here is I can just install it here, rpm-ivh and then scc. And now if I install it on the main werewolf box, I will have all the tools over there on my Rocky box. So watch, I'm just going to cd to opt here and hang out for a second, and there's that SCC showing up. So now I move down to SCC. This is one of the nice things. This is how clusters work. we build the tooling one place and then it's available in all the other places. So check this out. I want to execute this CSCC, which is the command line SCC. I forget what SCC stands for. I might say it in here somewhere. But it's a package. You can download this from the government system, right? And then I'm just going to run this. And what's going to happen is it's going to ask me to configure for this environment and say like, hey, buddy, what do you want to do here? Actually, you know what? I'm going to do one other thing real quick before I do that. I'm going to cd back into root, and then I'm going to say opt SCC CSCC. So I'm going to run this out of my root directory. Hey, thanks for the follows, Rizushi. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. All right. I'm not too worried about if it can't create those different things. Okay. All right. We're gonna need to stop that here. Let's run it over here first. We got to do a little bit of a setup here on the main node. So opt SC. We got to do it the first time on the main node because that's where it's going to build all those directories and stuff. So we'll let it build there first. That's fine. How did you set up your subtitling? Whisper CP? No, actually, anybody want to tell him? This is actually, Rizushi, this is a funny thing. I just use PowerPoint behind, and then you just take a PowerPoint and you put it into presentation mode, and then you just say, you know what, do my closed captioning for me, and it'll do it for you like that. It's the simplest little thing. So if you have PowerPoint, you can just, when you go, and you got to be in presentation mode, so you got to take that other screen and move it off somewhere and shrink. I just shrink the presentation screen, but this is the main screen here, and then I just pop this up and then it just turns right into that. Now this does require network access, and this does send up to Azure somewhere, but it doesn't cost anything, but it will run a pretty decent. I mean, it doesn't do good when I go into like deep engineering stuff and start talking about like 192.168.11.215. This thing's just going to be all kinds of messed up, right? When I really start digging into networking and stuff, it doesn't do well. But that's how I do it. All right, let's pull the network stuff back up real quick. This thing's still downloading and building its stuff. This is still running. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just it's PowerPoint in the background. I was using PowerPoint one day for a college project I was doing because I've been teaching college for 16 years, and well, it'll be 16 years at the end of the year here, and in December it'll be 16 years I've been teaching college, and yeah, I found it one day and I was like, that's the coolest stupid little thing. I'm just going to use that so that it just kind of looks like we've got something fun going on. People can watch what I'm talking about instead of listening to me, I guess. Oh, Doc, sorry, I missed you over there, man. Hopefully you're having a good weekend, start of the weekend. You finally bought the book, There's No Stopping Sleep Till Birth. Yeah, nice. No, I appreciate it, Doc. Anytime you can learn Linux and hang out with us, I appreciate it with you guys. You know, you guys are always welcome to. All right, so check this out. We created this, but then the Stig viewer, it made a summary of the scan that it might have wanted to do. And the first time I did this, I was supposed to do a setup. So let's go ahead and go play with the setup a little bit. So over here, I'm going to do, I think it's setup. That's right. And let's see if it'll let me set up on the Rocky node. Because again, we didn't really want to run a scan over here on this side. That wasn't really our intention. We wanted to run a scan over on this side, but we needed to be able to see these different things. So it says unable to set permissions on key installation directories. I'm okay with that. We know we can't change any of those. All right, that'll be a little bit of a problem for our environment. So there's two ways we can fix this, guys. We can, over here, just make the whole thing read write, right? That'll be fine. I'm trying to think of the dangers of that. They're not really dangers to that, because this tool would just, whatever node was running it would just be kind of overwriting stuff at that point. That's probably fine. Book was on my list, but your script optimist did the MD book for your exercises. It wasn't stored. Yeah, yep. I remember when he was working on that a while back. Yeah, he was putting a bunch of those things together as he was working through them, Doc, about the like the markdown book of some of the exercises and stuff. So that was good. Yeah, I was trying to get him to automate that. I think he was working on it, pulling everything out of the GitHub and doing that automatically. So that's kind of good. All right, where are we at here? Oh yeah, sorry. So, all right, so SCAP might not work the way we want unless we change it. So here's how. If you need to change something in a system and you want to make it temporary, right? Like this sysadmin stuff. Sometimes, especially in like test environments or dev environments, I will blow past problems. But I don't want to forget that I blew past the problem by changing something. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to VI my Etsy exports because that's where this is exporting from. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to say that's cute, but I don't want the original line anymore. Leave that so you guys can read it. And now I'm going to change this one to read write. So now this one can be read write and we'll have no root squash. So root is going to be able to be root in there. And then now I'm going to have to do system CTL restart NFSD. Oh, hell is that? Oh, it's NFS-server. That's my. I'm doing old shit, guys. Just I'm like just wheel me out back and say, sit out there, Grandpa. It's NFS server. That's what they call it nowadays. Okay, now when we've done that, show mount -e should show that. Well, it's there already. And now here we're gonna do a mount. Well, we'll do df-h to see everything, and we're gonna mount -o remount. That's the option to remount from the mount command opt. Because real quick, let me prove this to you. If I just don't change anything, this system is still going to see it the old way. Which, by the way, I wanted to be read-write. But I'm just going to tell you it's best to just do something like this. Mount -o, the option is to remount opt. And it's just going to remount opt with, it'll have just the correct options there if it didn't already. So if it was already read-only, it would become read-write. On my side, it's already become that on this side, on the other server side. All right, so anyways, let's see if we can't set this up now, because now we have read-write permissions in the directory. So let's run the setup command and see what happens. See how this goes. Gathering information. All right, so now see we're not getting any of those errors that we were getting before, and now the compliance check is going to come up. And it says unable to parse. Maybe I need help. Let's see. I just forget how to do the setup at the beginning. There's a setup command. Register, install credential. There's all these things you can do here, but I want. It's like your initial run is called like setup or something. Oh, it's just -- config. Oh, God damn it. If I had $1 for like every time I messed up a setup or a config and used the wrong flag, it's stupid. All right, but this is gonna set it up for this one node. We just need to remember this for future runs. Okay. So here's some information about it, and it says, "Hey, buddy, what do you want to do?" And we're gonna just say, "Okay, we're cool with the new features. That's fine. That's government stuff they put in." We can configure the SCAP content and configure the SCAP profiles that we want. That's going to be important because this thing may notice that it's like a web server and then it'll treat it a certain way or whatever. So let's go look at the SCAP content. And the things that I for sure don't want are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. I don't want those. The only thing I care about on this Rocky 9.4 box are the RHEL 9 stigs. So I'm just going to hit enter right here. Oh, whoops, and I'll hit 0 to go back. And then now that's what's set on my system. And then we need to look at 6, which is the configure options. And then on 1 for our scanning options, there's an option right here that says, let's see, run Number one, I want to set number one, run all SCAP content regardless of applicability. And the reason I want to set that is this. This is a Rocky 9.4 box. It is very, very, very similar to a RHEL 9.4 box. Very similar. They're from the same stream of data, right? Like same. However, the SCAP will look for 9.4 of RHEL and then go, it's not a 9.4 Rocky box. I'm not going to do it. What we're doing there is we're overriding with that top option there, and we're saying, hey, buddy, you need to just run it. I don't care, run it. Nick Hill, I wouldn't say I'm teaching anything. We're just kind of hanging out on a Friday. This is what we do on Friday. Isobu, no, this is a tool from the government. This is a government tool that you can download and use to scan your systems. So I got different questions, but Isobu, this is not anything to do with Werewolf. This is to do with Rocky Linux. And then over on the YouTube side, I'm not really teaching anything. We're just kind of messing around in the lab, and I'm doing stuff that's somewhat interesting, I hope. And we're bypassing some problems by changing things around in our environment. That's all we're doing. I'm going to hit 0. So now I've said scan this system no matter what. Quartz, they're about the same, yeah. The difference for us, and the reason we use Rocky is back-ended by CIQ. And CIQ is the same company that runs Werewolf, but they are they basically provide support. So now look, I'm gonna scan. We'll hit 0. So I've got all these other options for how we can output stuff and that kind of stuff. That might be good, but I know where this is gonna put it anyway, so that's fine. And it says exit and perform a scan of the computer. That's gonna be option 9. So I'm gonna run option 9, and we're gonna scan this box. And we're going to see, guys, I have done nothing to this server besides stand it up and do some like messing around with it. I've done no hardening of this environment in any way. We're going to see what the scanned look at our system is. Like how good is our system as far as the RHEL 9 benchmarks, so just right out of the box. I'm predicting it's going to be pretty low, probably like in the 50 to 60 range. But then we're going to have these things that we can go clean up. And we can clean them up manually. Or we can do some OSCAP stuff, and I'll show you guys how we can use Ansible or scripts to fix them and do it in an automated fashion. And this is where, like, if you guys have been around on our Discord where, like, Sending Ground says, like, hey, once you guys automate all your STIGs, this is a big part of it. You understand for whatever version of a system you want, and then you go and you build your automation, and then you build it. And here's one of the cool things. I can burn all of these STIG fixes that I'm going to do right into the container image, and then when I bring the node up, the node will be hardened all the way like I want. Don't know if it's my net on your side, so cheers, reconnect. Am I having problems? What's happening? I might have missed a message. Doc, hopefully you can hear me. Just if you can't get it out, send it in like dots and dashes, and we'll reassemble it on our side. But yeah, so look, this is going to scan. Scans are, I want to say, it says there's 466 of them. And then when we're done, we're going to pull this back down to my home machine here. We're going to open it up as a web page and look at them. We're going to open it up in a STIG viewer like I was working on last night. Remember I had that de-identified customer that I was working with, and I had done all their STIG reports and stuff. We're doing that same thing for my home lab now. And we're just working through this stuff. Doing 6-day basically RHEL up to 100%. I create an Ansible playbook as well. Yeah, so I'm using the OSCAP for the playbook as well. That's a good one, Isobu. Yeah, yep. I'm going to be doing that same thing. I'm going to use OSCAP, generate the playbook, and then you guys will see that the playbooks run a little bit differently, and you have to pull some things out of them to get them to work in a containerized environment. Because I'm not working against a live node. I'm going to be working in a chroot jail. So chroot jail, not ACH. ACH I think is a type of credit card transfer, isn't it? That's an excellent question. What is hardening? Hardening is this. Hold on. Let me go open a file real quick. Open a file. See if I can go find this file. I think, you know what, I always forget where the hell this is. Hold on. I think it's under presentations. Every time I look for this thing, I miss it. And then I think it's drawings. And then it's was it Linux Systems Administration? Hold on. Ah, that's a different one. Hold on. File. Open file. It was... So it wasn't the lab sub. I think it was one of these talks. I think it was this one, actually. Hold on. Not that one. We can talk about any of those if you guys want. But I want to show... because we've done this before. That's pathing method. Patching methodology. We've done that before. Hold on. I know I have this. That's no. Was it streaming? So this is so the question was, what is hardening? And this is a general idea of hardening right here. You build a golden image of some type, and these images, you can call them all kinds of different things. You can call them pre-baked, you can call them whatever, but it's a system that we're going to deploy to all other systems. Some people call them AMIs. Up in the cloud, it's Amazon Machine Images or whatever. And when you go to harden it, you're going to go to some security standard. There's a whole bunch of security standards. There are the CIS benchmarks. There are, if you don't want to do CIS benchmarks, you can do the government STIGs, which is the Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines. Oh yeah, Excalidraw is great. By the way, there's an Excalidraw extension for VS Code, so you can draw stuff on your own, and then you can share it up, and then let other people join in your normal Excalidraw. Excalidraw is open source, so you can actually just do Excalidraw on your own down in VS Code if you didn't know that. I show that to people sometimes too. It's pretty nice. Yeah, Robedom, this is up there. And so hardening is things like this. Change all your default passwords. Make sure you remove accounts that aren't being used. Do some type of benchmarks, CIS, STIG, OpenSCAP, which will scan for those for you. Software, update software, patch it. It should only be there if it's needed. It should only be running if it's needed. You close down all your TCP and UDP ports that aren't there. You put a host intrusion detection system on there. Then you have good logging. Maybe you're throwing logs off the server in real time. You have host intrusion prevention like Tripwire and Fail2Ban to keep people from knocking on the doors forever and getting you locked out. You've got host level firewalls, which are over here blocking things. Even if somebody accidentally like turns on a web server on port 80, your firewall's still protecting you. So this is like a little drawing that I had kind of put together to explain the process of hardening before. And then connections cannot happen by root. And then inside our SSHD config, we don't allow root. There's a bunch of things there. But this is going to go see how close we are. This is scanning still to see how close we are to our standards. StreetTrack, hey, how's it? Rewatching your Socratic Ansible stream and didn't realize you were live. By the way, the Ansible streams are awesome. Good. StreetTrack, hopefully you guys like that stuff. I mean, the reason I do this is to show you guys that you can do it. And another thing I show you guys with especially with that Ansible that StreetTrack's talking about over on the YouTube side, I don't have some super in-depth like I can't sit around and tell you about the philosophical nature of the underpinnings of Ansible. I'm just a guy who's been using it for a long time, and I'm pretty okay at the basics. And because I'm pretty okay at the basics, I do it across thousands of systems. And people are like, "Oh, Scott, you're not worried about that not working?" And I'm like, "Why wouldn't it work? I got my inventory good. I've got my process good. I know if it breaks, there's something wrong with that machine. And then I have reporting that comes back and tells me what machines didn't work. I go fix them, and then I rerun against either a smaller system or all the systems again. You know, this is the stuff that I do, right? This is, but I tell you guys, like all the stuff that I do is to show you guys that simple things done well will make you look like a good engineer. You know, you don't have to go crazy. How do you go about importing the results from OSCAP to STIG Viewer, or can it not be done that way? Isobu, I don't know how to do it from OSCAP. I don't, those I just always look at as a base HTML. This tool does feed right in as a checklist. This will make a checklist file for me. Isobu, you're going to want to use this tool when we're done here. Let me show you where to get it. The tool that I'm running over here, let me show you guys where you can get it. So you come over here, and then you go to Stig, right, for the government. You go to your Stig downloads. I'll give you a link here, Isobu. Oh, jumped over to Ranger Cam. Hold on. All right. So Stigs are obviously for government stuff, and then you can download Stig Viewer and all that kind of stuff. But no, for this, you need to go to back one from the actual Stig library, and where is this guy? It's oh, maybe it is in here. Let's go look in just the Stig. Oops, I went back one too far. This tool is called SCC. Let's see if we can just find. Here's all our SCC ones right here. So you want, Isobu. So you want SCC for whatever tooling you're going to do. So look, this is SCC for RHEL 7 or Oracle Linux or /12/15. This one is for RHEL 8, and then this one's RHEL 9 right here. This is the one that I have downloaded for my RHEL 9-like system. But there's also some for Raspbian 11. Look, we can look at the other ones. There's all the Ubuntu ones, so Ubuntu 20, which and for Raspbios or whatever. And if you got Solaris Spark kicking still, oh wow, and Ubuntu 22, and then just Unix and generic Windows as well. So you can download that, and that's what I'm generating right now is with this. So I do plan on turning this process right here into its own lab in Killer Coda to say, okay, first we're gonna get the scan. Where's the system at right now, right? And then, oh look, it's scanning a whole bunch of stuff that's out there. That's good. I recommend if you're doing this against like a dev environment or like a pre-prod environment, because oh god, don't be stigging boxes that are live, please, for the love of God. Do it back in your like home environment where you can mess around and break shit, you know, down in like a dev or a test or a QA environment. But what I'm going to highly advise is while you're doing this process, if you have a lot of like NFS shares and other scans, this will check those for world writable and all these other things. And then you're just burning time because now you're checking something that you probably don't want to set across all your nodes anyways. So what I would advise doing is when you do scans, like basically just unplug all those networks, all those file shares and stuff, run it against the box. Oh yeah, sure, we need to go fix that other crap later, but that's not a server level setup. That's not a server level event if you want to think of it like that. Yeah, Zero, cool. Yeah, definitely don't test in prod. And then also, not only don't test in prod, but you guys have heard the thing, if you can't get downtime, make downtime. Hold on, let me see what's so important that somebody's calling me right now from a unknown number. Give me 1 second here. Can you guys hear me again? Let me see. Okay, you guys probably hear me that whole time. That was super messed up. Like, I just realized my mouse, my speaker. Hold on. Oh, maybe the button is working. Okay, it was my button wasn't set right on my Yeti. I've had this Yeti for a few years. I got it when I used a Yeti at the college a few years back, and I always liked it, so I do it for myself. All right, it's processing those things. It's doing that. Okay, so you guys know how to get that. All right, how's Ranger doing? He is still being a Ranger dog, not doing anything. All right, let's let this finish up, and then we're gonna pull it down, and we'll look at it before I hop off here in a little bit. I only have a little bit longer because I got guests coming over at 6, and we're gonna go grab some food and watch a movie. I was telling you guys that a little while ago. So yeah, this thing is going. Look, this thing's going out. I have 2 mounted directories, and it takes a little while. Oh yeah, Ranger does sometimes move between the beds. Depends which one's cooler. Depends which one's giving him better air conditioning, I'm sure. Oh, by the way, guys, I mentioned this earlier. You know, we've got a Discord. You guys can come hang out there. You're always welcome to do that. I do have an event tomorrow. We're going to be hanging out. So if you're ever in Discord, you go up to the top left. You can see the events over here. They're up here. Boom. And then the event for this week is meet and greet, talk about the industry, any topics, guest speakers that might show up. I have a couple of guest speakers I'm going to try to get out here in the next month, just meeting online. They are some people I know around the industry. One of the guys, by the way, one of the guys I'm going to get to come, he's been working for a long time with Red Hat, and one of the things I like about the Professional Linux Users Group is I can bring in anybody related to Linux. He has worked for Red Hat for many years. I met him through Red Hat, probably in 2017 or 2018. But he doesn't, and he's an engineer. The guy's an engineer's engineer. He's very good at engineering. Probably one of my most respected engineers. But he teaches people this thing called pre-sales. Do you guys know what pre-sales is? It's like the engineers that come in and draw up the diagrams as the sales team is like getting ready to sell something to somebody. So they're pre-sales engineers. They're kind of sales, but they're also kind of engineers. And he trains people on that. He's got a little class, I think, called the Pre-Sales Academy. Anyways, I want him to come and talk to the people of our Discord, because maybe somebody doesn't want to just do engineering, or maybe you're like, well, I like engineering and I'm good at it, but I also want to make a lot of money, which, sales. Look, I'm not telling you guys how to do your career. I'm just telling you, like, you can make good money in sales, but you can also do sales while engineering. And it's almost, I mean, I almost think it's like one of the cooler things in Linux engineering, because you're making people very happy by like perfectly fitting your good engineering, we hope, to what they need. You're not just out there selling them something, you're building something for them, and then you're understand. It's like kind of a lot like how solutions architects are. They're not really hard sell people. They just build the solution somebody needs, and then everybody loves their solutions architects. And it's kind of one of these things that, and I think he would come. His name's Ash Davis. He's over at Red Hat, and I'd love to get him to come out and talk to you guys. So I talked to him the other day on LinkedIn, and he said he's like, oh yeah, I'll come out to Phoenix one of these times soon. I said it's on Discord, man. You can come talk to these guys whenever you want. And so I gotta reach back out to him. Yeah, YouTube. I hope this stuff's useful to you. YouTube on YouTube. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. The goal is to make stuff that shows you guys that you can do this. If my scan doesn't get done right now, we'll start it either later tonight or Saturday. Again, I'll do a little more with this scan to show you guys. But one of the nice things is this scan will just be sitting there, and then I'll be able to pull all the pieces down and open them on my home lab, or open them on my Windows box. Go into a web browser and open it, and we can look at what Stig right out of the box. We haven't touched this box in any way yet. And then we start to develop a plan for how we're going to harden, how we're going to do this to this system. How are we going to get this system where the passwords are good, and we don't have any defaults, and we don't have things open that don't need to be open, and all that kind of stuff. This is what we do, right? This is engineering. This is from my talk the other day when I was saying engineering is hacking in the middle. There's a lot of hacking. Like, we try to figure stuff out, but over here is documenting. Over here is over here is planning, and over here is documenting. People don't pay us to hack as engineers. They pay us to provide solutions to the company, and those solutions have to be planned out, and then they have to be documented at the end to be repeatable as like if you want to think of anything as an engine, as a cycle, it has to be able to cycle through and be repeatable and rebuildable and all that stuff, right? All the catchphrases of being an engineer, right? But anyways, I did a talk on that the other day on our Discord, and we had like a 10-year, it's pretty fun, little 10-year anniversary type stuff. But anybody that was there, Robedom, I think you might have been there. I did it like not even it was not a IT presentation. It was about engineering, and then I let all the other talks be deep in the weeds on different people came and talked about all kinds of different stuff, and it was good. And a bunch of those got recorded and put up on YouTube. So if you guys are, if you are YouTube people and like going and hanging out and talking with other people than me, there's all kinds of people out there. All I heard was money. Yeah, this is me right here. I can answer that for money. All right. Let's get rid of that. This thing's still going to scan over here. I'm going to leave these screens just like they are for when I can come back on later, because I got to get off here in a little bit, get showered up, get ready. Oh look, I think it's finishing. Hold on, it's doing the processing of the rules now. It's going to keep telling me which one it's doing. Those other ones were the longer poles in the tent, if you want to think of them like that. They were the ones that took the most time. Yeah, this is checking system commands, so it's in user bin and user s bin. Yeah, it's checking all of the files down in there to make sure that they're owned by root, which they are for the most part out of the box. But by the way, I've had this question come up before, and I'm gonna ask this generically to everybody, and then if you want, you can, if I don't give you the answer before you got to leave, go ask it down in the Discord. But why? Think about it. If we have all these technical guidelines, why don't we just turn them all on? Why doesn't the vendor? Why doesn't whoever created Rocky 9.4, which is CIQ, why didn't they just turn all these on? Why is security not always maxed out on something that we give to an end user, right? But for that matter, why do we have to stick a Windows machine? Your home, your little Windows machine that your grandma or your mom or dad run, and they barely ever use it, or they always complain about this or this or this. Why isn't all that security just turned on all the way? There's literally hundreds of things that are not turned on out of the box. Why is that? And I want you guys to think about that, because that's a simple security question. Why don't all security things always trigger all the time? Why not? And that leads back to a saying I always say, even though I am, at heart a security guy. Why is it true that we can, release systems without all the technical security things turned on? Like, why would we do that? So I want you guys to think about that. All right. Oh, we're only on 146 of 446. This is going to take a while. I think, Robodom, think even simpler than that. Robodom said, does it depend on how the company wants to run things or structure their business? Sure, there's a thing called security posture in a business. But I'm talking like your home machine. Why when you first logged into a Mac or a Windows box or a Linux box of any type, did you have to type a password into that? I don't want to type a password into it. I just want to connect to the stupid thing. I've got the laptop in front of me. Why shouldn't I just be able to get into it right away every time? I want you guys to think about that. And this is a valid security code. This is like very crux of like being a security engineer. Why are not all security things always turned on? It's not Robodom, I guarantee you it's simpler than you think. Cuddlingus said trust. I think that's a valid one to think about. Let me just tell you guys, and I'll let you chew it over a little bit, because I do have to get off of here soon. It's because security is the enemy of productivity. Security always slows you down. Now, I'm not saying security, I never said security was bad. Security is good. Security, we need security. If I asked you, how fast can you go in your car if you know your brakes aren't working? How fast would most of you go? 15? I don't think most of you would go over 15 in your car if you knew your brakes weren't going to stop you. So security slows us down. Now, I want you to think about it. When you go to work and you've got to find your badge, put your badge on, you got to badge in before you walk in the building. Maybe you got to go put your phone down for a security thing. Maybe you got to sit down at the desk and you got to reconnect your laptop because you had to take your laptop with you. You couldn't leave it open. Then you had to put in a password, and then probably most of you have to use a some kind of challenge multi-factor authentication to get in. So now you've got your phone involved, or a tool like a token. It takes 15 minutes to get logged. From the time I get to work till I get inside and get stuff going is probably well over 15 minutes. That's all security. Got to submit a blood test. Yeah. Got to put the old retinal scan in, right? You got to like do all of these things. Security. So look, when you frame it like that, security, and it's better to say the enemy than the opposite, because it's not the opposite. You're still moving towards something. It's just, it does slow you down. Your security always slows you down, but it also enables you to have a system that is confidential, has integrity, and is available at all times. So security doesn't stop you from being productive. It just slows you down to, whatever acceptable rate. And that's the balance, right? And I tell you guys all the time, if you say, Scott, what's the difference between engineering and art? This is it right here. If you guys want my profound wisdom from 20 plus years of engineering. If I can tell you something as an equation, I'm being an engineer. It's engineering. But if I say, well, it depends, and maybe you need to put a little over here, and maybe you need to put a little over there, now it's art. So you say, is it the art of security or the engineering of security? And the answer is yes, but for different reasons. If I can tell you for sure this server must have no port 80 exposed, and it has to have a firewall blocking port 80, those are engineering concepts. But then if somebody comes along and says, well, should you block port 80? And I'm like, And I got to be like, well, should I block port 80 if I want a website open? No, right? So my point is there's difference between engineering and stuff like that. Security does nothing but get in my way. Software yeah, King Buns. I know a lot of software engineers that used to just yell at me all the time from our 200 different dev teams, and they'd just be like, why don't you just give us all root? And it's like, oh my god, do you guys know what kind of Lord of the Flies incidents happen when I give any of you root? Those servers become just dirty little cesspools of everything downloaded and containers all over them, and it looks like it's got like I was gonna say something. Let's just say it looks like it has smallpox, right? I don't want to say that other thing and like get people talking political or whatever. So YouTube asked, do I stream? YouTube on YouTube said, do I stream every day at the same time? No, YouTube, I pop on a little earlier on Fridays. Fridays are my chill days. We're at the end of the week. We're not working super hard. I am cleaning up my lab and running a basic STIG check here. So over here, this is a basic STIG check going on. When this is done, which will probably be after the stream's over because this box is pretty slow. Yeah, we're only on 147 of 466. What we'll do is we'll come back and we'll keep looking at how to
security begins at the row bottom because it's the first line of defense in protecting your digital kingdom, where even the smallest vulnerabilities can have major consequences. A secure row bottom means you can enjoy your Twitch stream without worry. Let's go.
That's pretty good, Tawny. Hey, by the way, thanks for being here. Tawny's been with us a long time. I've been telling people about Tawny's book. Tawny was one of the authors on a book called Spiffy, Solving the Bottom Turtle. And I always recommend people go and spend time with that because I think there's good concepts in there. And zero trust is not just some industry term. Some companies really want you to know it. So sometimes people throw around just ridiculous stuff like, oh, zero trust this and zero trust. Why don't you just implement the zero trust? Well, but some organizations actually embrace it, and it's really a thing that you need to know to get in there. So, hey, Tawny, by the way, have you been around? Did you see Robodom got his Security Plus? That's pretty cool, right? Told him that's going to open up some doors for him. Now he's kind of a big deal. So that's pretty cool. See, the reason I thought this check happened really fast is I was running it against supercomputer machines, and they had 256 cores in them with, 2 terabytes of RAM each. And they were running this thing in like 5 minutes. I did not realize that in my home lab, which I have woefully underpowered, this thing is probably going to take like a few more hours. So that's actually kind of funny. King Buns, I told my IT guy to revoke my admin because I need permissions for something. He gave me a full admin over our ERP system and literally was like, dude, take this away. Yeah, King, I agree. I don't want... We've had this discussion before on stream where I've talked about, like, if you want me to be in charge of something, you must give me the keys to it. But if you tell me, like, oh, no, you're going to have to go to that guy every time, I'm like, nope. And now, look, if I can go to his API and pull down, like, a token and then be root, I'm okay with that, I guess. Like, because some teams don't want to get... Or I can be admin over my section of something, like ServiceNow or something, and but I've gotten, like I've told you guys, I've gotten into knockdown, drag out fights and meetings with like C-levels where I am just like straight yelling at people. And any of you guys that know me know that I very rarely even talk on meetings. But this is one thing I will fight. If you tell me my team's responsible for something, but my team doesn't control or own that thing, your team does, I will stop a meeting with 100 fucking people in there to yell with you about it. Because I'm not accepting it. I will not. You can't say, Scott, you're in charge of it, but you're not in charge of it. I will not accept that. It's a what we call a false dichotomy. I simply can't accept it. I won't work. Like I've told people, like, if you guys say that this is ours, but we don't have the keys, this is my resignation. I will not do it because it doesn't make any sense. It would be like you're responsible to. Like I live in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm responsible for like protecting people in Michigan. I'll be like, well, then let me get a plane ticket to Michigan. They're like, no, and I'll be like, all right, well then F you. I can't. How am I going to do it? Even if I could, and even if all that other stuff aside, I can't get there. I can't do it, right? So, anyways, single permission that gave me. Yeah, King Buns. This is the opposite of what happened with me. They told us that in ServiceNow we had to update the servers. So servers went into different patch groups in ServiceNow. And we said, okay, we'll do that, but now you have to give us access to control those tags. And they said no. And I said, look, man, I don't want an account. I don't want anything. Just Give me, or give a service account just the ability to affect that. I know you guys have granular permissions. I don't want to be rooting your system. I just want to simply change these things that you're telling me I'm responsible for in this meeting in front of all these C-level executives and stuff. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, then I'm not in charge of it. And I will have this fight. I will, it will be a knockdown, drag out fight. I will never admit. And I spoke for my whole team, by the way, because I was the tech lead for all of platform engineering. So I had like 13 engineers that were Windows and Linux that did my bidding, basically. And I was not going to let us get, because then what would happen? A few months later, nothing would be fixed, and they would be blaming us that patching wasn't working right. And I'd be like, no, that's not our stuff. We don't have the keys, you know. Coyote Express from Michigan, nice. My family's from Michigan. In fact, my last name, Champagne. Can they spell it right? Nope. Champine. My last name is actually, my family's been in Detroit since it was founded. And it's, we have like parks there named after us and that kind of stuff because my family's been there since it was founded. Is this something I should be concerned over? Does it happen off? Razushi, it depends on the engineering departments and teams, and the main crux of that problem was sometimes when you're in IT, sometimes you're a cost center to the organization, and sometimes you're the profit center. And does anybody know what that means? Like, before I get into it too much, the cost center is you're somebody who costs the company money. So when I worked for an insurance company, we kept all the servers running, but to them, we didn't make money. We were a cost center. We charged costs, we got salaries and stuff, but we were an insurance company. So guess who made money? Developers and people who were producing products with the engineering or with the insurance teams to push products out. So they were the profit centers. So when they told us to do stuff, it was kind of like, for lack of a better term, we were the redheaded stepchildren. If you don't know that term, that's like an old term for we were the ones that got beat. We were the ones that got treated like Cinderella, right? But then I've also worked, like when I worked at Lockheed Martin, where we were the engineers. We were the guys that made money. We were the ones that they billed our hours to the company or to the government, and we were the rock stars. We built the things, right? So just think about that. Tani, say hi to Chicago. Yeah, Chicago's nice. I was just working for a college out there for the last couple, just over a year. I was working for that college out there. Look, oh, we're done. We passed everything. It's calculating a score. The score's going to fly by real quick, but we might catch it. Then we're going to grab all this stuff down, pull it to our system. I got to get off here in the next minute, guys, so hopefully I can pull this last little bit down, and then we'll hopefully come back around. But, Tani, I always appreciate when you're around. And we're on one of your topics right now. We're on security, right? Specifically around hardening a box, making it a repeatable process, pushing it down, in my case, to one of these. We're going to build it into, where's it at? We're going to build it into one of these. Oh, by the way, I've been using this a lot more. I know people get mad at me for pressing up all the time. I've been using Control R a lot more. So, right? So I've been doing a lot more of this lately, right? So I can Control R and then search for things. And I know that's going to make people happier because people get mad when I just press up for 45 minutes and stuff. Because I will not retype a command, guys. If I know the command is somewhere, I'm just going to hold up until I find it. But I know I can use Control R, so I'm doing that more now and trying to get a little better at that. The LinPs on your box after hardening. Yeah, so Tani, we're going to do OSCAP. And yeah, these are ephemeral boxes. So if you want to mess with anything, or if you want me to, what is that called? LinPs? I've heard that before, but I don't know what that is. What is LinPs? Oh. Yeah, you know what, Tani, I'll put that in there. Actually, that'll be part of my because we're doing this as like a hardening thing. After hardening. Okay. Our other steps, we got other things we've got to do in here. We're going to do a pre-scan with OSCAP. And we're also pre-scanning right now with SCC, right? Those are both tools that are free out there. Then we're going to harden with RHEL harden with OSCAP, Ansible in Werewolf container, right? And then we will do what is basically like a post scan. And then one of the other things I'm going to do with SCC here, and I was going to try to get to it, is pull this down and look at the HTML page, and then pull this down and look at the 2.7 Stig viewer. There is a newer Stig viewer, version 3, but nobody I know in the government security is using 3 yet. They're all back here. Pre-scan with OSCAP, and then pull this down and look at the HTML page. I don't know how to get this into the stuff scanned like this. I can't get this into the Stig viewer, so we'll just do it with this one. And then we'll harden with Ansible inside the Werewolf container. I'll show you guys how that process kind of works, and then we'll go from there. All right, this thing's definitely taking its time, and it might not. I'm probably not going to get finished here before I got to get off of here. But John Carter said, "How has your work-life balance been between work and self-learning?" John, I do a fair amount of kind of just blending them together. Sometimes I'm even on my, so I'm a obviously salaried engineer, so I just work all the time regardless. Some of this stuff is still helping inform me on some of the clusters that I'm working on. So like I was doing stuff on stream the last few weeks that I was also doing at work. So some of this stuff was like one time a couple weeks ago we were on, and I was doing scanning of or I was installing Open On Demand and this other tool, and I wanted to get them working in RHEL, so it was for RHEL 8.8, and I got that all installed and set up, and I did that out here on stream, but I was doing that for a project that was in a SCIF, and I had to bring those software packages into the SCIF and get them loaded, but I had to do it on a system that wasn't connected to the internet. So when you guys saw me doing it here, I was doing it on a node here that could not get out to the internet in my home lab, right, in my home lab environment. So yeah, the work-life balance for engineering in my mind is like I'm always just kind of doing this stuff. I'm always kind of just putting stuff back in my head and practicing and figuring stuff out. But then, you know, you do have to take breaks, right? So like I teach college, so that teaching college helps keep me sharp because I'm learning a lot of stuff. And Zoo, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Thanks for stopping by. The other thing too is I go to college. I'm working on my doctorate, so I do a fair amount of research and stuff. In fact, Sunday nights I may start hopping on here and doing some of my research and some of my writing on stream, and maybe I'll just leave some stuff up over here on the side, like, you know, Ranger Cam and some of this stuff to keep people amused while we sit around and talk system security. In fact, I think I told some of you guys what my doctorate topic is on. It's going to have to do with efficacy of offensive security operations. I mean, I've read hundreds of articles now about all the different ways of doing things, and this is stuff that I've done professionally, but I have not read anything or found anything about whether or not we should be doing any of that, because it's there's a fair amount of stuff when you guys get into like looking at this where you're like, well, we're not allowed to attack back, so what does it really matter if we're doing this or that or whatever, and we're not actually allowed to do anything when we scan our own system offensively, so why are we even doing that, right? Like, and that's the kind of thing. I'm going to go pull the data and do some surveys of security engineers and stuff like that I know, and see what's going on. Okay, it's going to save to root SCC sessions, so this is where it's going, and then results, and then it's going to have this OVAL STIG report XML. So this is one place that they'll have it. There'll be some other scans there. Could you talk about the landscape for a master's focus on Kubernetes? What a line of research could be? I'd love to go for it, but I kind of have out of ideas. Zoo, I don't know. So when I did two different master's programs. One was in business administration back in 2008, and for that one I did a big project on EMR, electronic medical records. And then when I did my Master's of Information Security, which was an engineering degree, I did that in 2011, and I did that on solar farm. I talked about building a solar farm out here in Phoenix, and that was what my capstone or thesis was on. Don't think anybody's really interested in seeing any of those things or those analyses that I did. But yeah, my master's programs were I think they were probably like maybe about 80 page. They weren't like great as far as that kind of, like, there weren't some research that's published anywhere or whatever. My dissertation stuff will be. I have other stuff that's published too that's unrelated to that. But anyways, where I'm going with that is because I got asked over here on the Twitch side. A master's focus on Kubernetes, I don't know, because I mean, there's so many things you could do. Like, would you focus on like a novel way to deploy Kubernetes? There's a bunch of those out there. Would you focus on a novel way to use Kubernetes for workflows or something? Would you focus on application development in there and deployment? Like, there's so many things that I would think, but when you start to go for like a doctorate in research, it's a lot less about that other stuff, and it's about looking for like where the holes are in the current whatever the current things are. Like, go on Google Scholar and start reading. You got to do huge amounts of like literature review and annotation of stuff and look at what's there, and then as you start to see what's there, you start to see what isn't there, and you're like, why is nobody talking about that? Why is nobody talking about how Kubernetes has not really done, this is one that I know of, Kubernetes has not done a good job of being integrated into high performance compute machines and supercomputing machines. And you say, well, why not, Scott? Well, because they're totally different types of workflows. Kubernetes is designed for this the workflows of like a Kubernetes system that like probably like 99% of all Kubernetes systems are doing is like, you've got some like little batch application that's doing something, and maybe it's going and pulling some data, and then it's just an API sitting there. Or somebody hits an API and goes and generates a key. So it's like all these little tiny things that kind of get built up into a puzzle of like a whole working system, right? That's how I kind of look at like Kubernetes. Whereas like high performance compute workloads are like, I'm going to kick off a run against 266 nodes, and those nodes are going to calculate like all the weather patterns based on like the last 7 days worth of data for like NOAA. And that's going to be some 6-hour run that just completely fills, 200 or 300, 400 boxes of processing until that one job run is done and has some kind of output of whatever type that it's doing. And that's the totally different types of workflows, right? Nuclear dedicated to cities, there an advantage. Solar in Phoenix. Tawny, there is. Solar's pretty good out here. We have like a 90. There's some huge rate. If you have a southern facing exposure, you have a really high percentage. If you integrated Slurms with K8s, would you use it? Yeah, Tawny. So I've actually done some of that, and yeah, there are probably workflows that would just churn through real quick with Kubernetes jobs. And I've seen, Tawny, there was a project called Shasta that Cray was building, and Shasta had all of the things that stuck to the side of a cluster, like your head nodes, your support nodes, your Slurm and your Slurm database nodes, and all those things. They were all ephemeral in containers, and that was really cool. So all of your big heavy workflows were still over here in your compute nodes, but then all of the management and stuff happened in Kubernetes, and it was really interesting. But then Cray got bought by HPC, and HPC they weren't really super interested in doing that anymore. So they have a tool called HPCM that doesn't do any of that stuff. So, all right, this thing's still running. Come on, what's going on here, buddy? Let's see how Ranger's doing. Ranger's back on his bed. All right. Oh, guys, I got to get off here. All right, I will see some of you guys later on tonight, probably. I'm going to pop on the end of stream here. I appreciate you guys that came by. Abdin, sorry I missed you over on the YouTube side. I will talk to some of you guys later, and other ones I will see during the week here. All right, let's find somebody to raid real quick. Maybe somebody's on. Somebody I'm following is on. Oh yeah, let's go hit El Clonk. If you guys don't follow him, he's always doing techie stuff. We'll go raid over to him. He's only got 90 something people right now. He's normally up about 140, so we'll go raid him. I appreciate you guys all coming by. He will be doing some technical stuff, and you guys will probably